Hey everyone, it's Sly47 here. Welcome back to Push Yourself. Today we'll be increasing your aim and damage in World of Warships Blitz by showing you why you need this button in your game at all times in a much shorter version than a previous video that I had on it. But today I'm going to be showing you why and when you should be using auto aim off in World of Warships Blitz, along with a few other tips and tricks on how to actually make it work, along with gameplay examples. Let's get into it. Now, if you have never seen that button in your game, don't worry about it. Here's how to turn this on. Go over to your settings while you're in game, go over to the controls tab, and then at the bottom you will see the auto lock, probably saying enabled. Next thing is go over and move it to with button by clicking on it and clicking with button in your settings. This will allow you to toggle auto aim on and off while you're in game. Now, in case that you are brand new to this game and want to push yourself very early, auto aim is the little white box that will be highlighting a target for you and will guide your entire cursor and allow you to adjust your shots while adjusting the aim for you while you are looking at a particular target in World of Warships Blitz. Now let's talk about what it does, how it works, and why sometimes you want to turn it off. So now let's actually talk about how auto aim on works when you have it on a target versus when you have it off on a target, and the situations that you might see them in. Now, auto aim on is actively trying to actually help you. Just unfortunately, depending on your ship and depending on your caliber of guns and everything, it might be actively harming your chance on doing more damage when you actually want to be using auto aim off in order to increase it. But of course, there's issues with that as well. We'll go through that. So first of that, with the auto aim on, what you have to take in consideration is that auto aim on is taking the center of the ship's mass or general size. It's going to take that center area, which typically is below the water line, and adjust your aim accordingly to help make you hit shots. So let's say you accidentally shoot low. You want to hit right here and such to be able to hit the water line of some kind. Auto aim on is going to see that and is going to slightly adjust so that you're more likely to hit. But everyone can see here, that's aiming you right at the belt armor, which of course in a ship typically tends to be the hardest part of the armor, which means less likely to penetrate. In the inverse situation, let's say you are aiming and you are aiming a little bit too high, and it's going to generally miss the ship. Auto aim will slightly adjust it, so at least you will potentially hit the ship right there, thus allowing you to hit superstructure and allowing you to hit a few of your shots. That is a very nice thing that it's actively trying to do. But as you can see with this logic, let's say you're trying to hit the deck armor of a ship, and you are specifically trying to hit this area right here on the ship or the superstructure. Deck armor has some of the least amount of armor in the game, so you want to be able to hit that in order to have plunging fire will net you more full penetrations and i.e. more damage on the ship, including if you're firing HE at the superstructure, more likely to actually full pen with HE, which means more fires. So just know that applies to that as well. Now with this, when you are aiming for this, it might bend your shot just slightly, forcing it. So as much as you might go, oh, I want to be able to hit the deck armor, because of the center of the mass of the ship or the angle that your shell is coming in, it might force your shell slightly low, causing you to run into the, once again, the belt of the ship, which means the most armor of the ship. So when you are using auto aim on, it's actively trying to make sure you hit your shots, but sometimes it might be preventing you from actively doing full damage. Now let's look at the ship being with auto aim off. So when you are actually targeting a ship, instead of taking the center of mass into consideration, you need to consider the point of aim versus point of impact. Because when you are moving your cursor around the screen, it's actively putting your cursor wherever it is on the water specifically. So when you are actually trying to aim a target with auto aim off, your cursor might be right here, right in the middle of the ship or right on the side, wherever you might be looking. Then you need to be considering, okay, how do your shells land? What is the arc of them? What is the speed of them? In order to make sure that your point of aim, because of course if you aim right here, but you have a very low, fast trajectory, your shot will go right into the belt armor. But let's say you have a high trajectory. Well, it can come from up here and plunge right in exactly where you're wanting to hit with that deck armor. So your point of aim, point of impact must be taken in consideration when you have auto aim off, because once again, that ship's in the way of where the shells are truly going to land, because you don't have auto aim on messing with your shot. So once again, this will be a little bit of a fickle thing to learn over time, in my opinion. You'll need to understand how your shells generally work so that you can make sure that your point of aim and the point of impact are exactly where you want on a particular ship, so you can get that plunging fire, or even if you have a low arc, so you can make sure that your shells land exactly where you want when you have auto aim off, because your true area where they're going to land is different from where they're going to impact. Now, while I start showing you particular clips of how exactly I do auto aim off and how it exactly works, here's a few tips and tricks that I have kind of picked up from using auto aim off. Now, particularly if you are noticing that you're like, hey, there's so much moving, so much going on, if the entire action of the battle is getting a little too much for you, having auto aim on will generally help you make sure that you're hitting your shots, and hitting your shots is generally actually going to be better than potentially missing an entire salvo. So make sure that if things are getting a little too hectic in your game, let's say you're brawling, unless you're very, very knowledgeable, do not brawl with auto aim off. It will help your secondaries, especially your AP secondaries on the bow and the stern, but overall what I would generally say is don't worry about turning off auto aim when you are in a brawl. There's already so much generally going on in a brawl that you're going to be wanting to focus on your mobility to stay alive longer, and or just putting shells on the target, so don't worry about that. Next thing up is I will commonly actively move my cursor to where the ship is going to be as my ship and that ship is moving. So I want to make sure that if you are running into a situation of how do I exactly know when to fire or how to fire it, there's too much moving at the same time and your ship is moving, try to basically go, all right, cool, in about 2 seconds, this cursor is going to go right where I want it to be. Place your cursor in that situation and then fire for that. Next thing on the last little bit is spotter plane can definitely help you, as it will give you a better trajectory and better view of exactly where your true aim is. Because of course, when you're looking at a target, are you looking at, kind of just the deck armor where you're going to hit, or are you going to land on the superstructure, or are you too far? Spotter plane can definitely help assist you in where your exact true aim is going to be when your shells land. And a lot of those ships generally have some better, I'd say slower, but better aimed arcs with that spotter plane, so you're not having to worry about a Stalingrad situation where it has shells that are ripping through the air at Mach 5 in a situation, so that you're not having to worry about the overall arc. You just know, hey, your shells are going to land at this target, and if you aimed them generally right, they're going to hit the deck armor. Now, my general rule of thumb when I turn it off or on is the player mostly showing broadside to me at less than about 9 kilometers. I know you can go a little bit further out, but to me, that 9 kilometer situation tends to be where I'm like, okay, cool, I know my accuracy is good enough. I know my shells are generally going to hit where I want them to. So therefore, 9 kilometers is exactly where I'm going to be going. A-okay, turn it off. But if a player is running away from you or coming towards you, I will generally say keep auto aim on, as it will generally help you actually land your shells, as having auto aim off with a player moving away or going towards you, well, you're gonna miss a lot of the time if you aren't actively keeping your cursor exactly where you want to fire. So just an FYI there, it's a lot easier when a player is just generally showing broadside to you, or hey, maybe they're just sitting in their cap shooting at you. Well, punish them with auto aim off and nailing them exactly where you want to. I'm gonna let most of this gameplay show off exactly what you should be doing and how exactly you should be aiming with auto aim off versus auto aim on. Now, for those people who are just starting on this game, generally keep auto aim on. There are a few bugs here that I would still suggest keeping that button there available for you, especially when you have multiple ships clumped up together. That will allow you to turn it off and at least fire some shells without having auto aim be freaking out and going to 3 different targets or 2 different targets. It generally will help you with that situation. But if you are a new player to Blitz, make sure to keep auto aim on. It will help you hit your targets more, and as you feel it out more, and as you get higher in the tiers, and as you get to know the arcs of a particular ship better, then you can start turning auto aim off and start landing those shells exactly where you want, and you will see a consistent higher damage at that. But understand, you are taking the risk. You might whiff your entire shells and miss your target completely, or in general just hit the exact part where you don't want to hit, because that is your true aim, and you need to make sure that you are ready for that. But I hope this video has helped you in learning how to use auto aim on versus auto aim off, and exactly what auto aim is doing so that you can do more damage in World of Warships Blitz. And that is all for today for Push Yourself. Please down below put any suggestions you have for future Push Yourself videos in the future, and then on top of that, hit that like button if you learned anything or enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you haven't. Hit the notification bell to see whenever a new video goes live. If you want to join any part of this community or follow on any other platform that I stream on, because you can watch however you want because I multi-stream, the Linktree link down below has all of the links, along with the capability to help support this channel more via Patreon, YouTube, WoWsBlitz that power this entire setup. Thank you all for the support in making all of this happen and making all this possible. Have a good one, everyone. Peace.